Good morning. If you're just joining us, we're going to be getting started in just a couple of minutes. Good morning. If you're just signing on, we'll be getting started in about 2 minutes here. We're just going to wait for a few more people to join in. All right, we'll give it one more minute and then we will get underway. Thanks for joining us this morning. All right, good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us. My name is Garrett Sheehan. I'm the president and CEO of the Greater New Haven Chamber of Commerce. Really appreciate you taking the time to watch this webinar. This is a really important issue for the region, Tweed New Haven Airport. If you're signing on, I'm sure that means that you're really interested in this topic and the future of Tweed New Haven Airport. This upcoming week is a very important week. We're getting ready for a public hearing over the environmental assessment. The environmental assessment is one of those necessary procedures that the airport had to go through to be able to get FAA approval to extend the runway and then also build the new terminal that would end up on the East Haven side of the airport. Overall, the environmental assessment came back very positive. Lots of mitigations to reduce the overall impact of the airport. And some of the improvements will actually improve situations given that we'll have larger planes, more efficient planes. They'll be using the airport as well. But really important that we get that message out. If you're a supporter of the airport, it's important that we're able to share with folks how important the flights that have been out of Tweed have been, and also what's possible in the future. What's at stake here is the FAA could say to the airport that they need to do an environmental impact statement. That would be a much longer process. It would cover a lot of the same ground that has already been done through the environmental assessment. There's typically specific triggers in federal law that would send this into an environmental impact statement. And from what we've seen, those don't seem to exist. But there are a lot of people out there who would like that to occur. That would mean many delays in this entire project getting off the ground and would also threaten some of the financing that is currently in place to make these changes happen to the airport. So we're really positive on what's going on at Tweed, and then also this environmental assessment that's been put out there and what it's showing and what the impacts will be of the airport overall. We are asking folks to either come out in person and attend an April 1st public hearing and express their support for the airport, or, and I expect most people will go this route, to write a letter of support. So what we wanted to do today was just provide a little bit more background, answer questions that you may have. If you have questions, feel free to put them in the chat and Katie will take those as she goes along. This is going to be a very high level overview. If there's something that we don't know, we'll be able to get that information back to you. Again, all questions, just put them in the chat and we'll go through those as we do the presentation. So at this point, I want to introduce Katie Ambrosio, who is our public policy specialist here at the Chamber. Katie?
Thank you, Garrett, and good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us this morning. So as Garrett said, we're going to just provide a very high-level overview of the environmental assessment and what was found within this. So I know Garrett gave a brief overview on what the environmental assessment is, but I just wanted to expand a little bit. Again, the EA was released ahead of the plans to expand the airport, and it was released earlier this month on March 2nd. The EA covers the expansion of the airport, as we've said, and so that includes the extension of the airport's runway, as well as the construction of a new terminal, and this was conducted by the New Haven Airport with the support of the National Aviation Consulting firm McFarland Johnson, if you're familiar with them. So they've really headed on this work. And this process began on November 18th of 2021. And it's really included extensive research and information from really a variety of sources. If you take a look at the packet's hundreds and hundreds of pages, which includes, scientific studies, community input, and collaboration that they have partnered with many local, state, and federal agencies, including the Connecticut Department of Environmental and Energy Protections, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, and the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency. So this EA was done to really address the foreseeable environmental, social, and economic consequences associated with the proposed extension of the runway and the construction of the new terminal, the East Terminal, and other associated facilities at Tweed New Haven Airport. So far, the EA has met the requirements of NEPA and is required for all projects by the FAA, which is why they had to move forward with this to move forward with their expansion. And this is really meant to outline the purpose and the need for the project. If you are able to take a look at the hundreds pages long packet of the EA, you'll see that they really analyze different alternatives and potential impacts. They've really worked to kind of minimize their impact going through with this expansion. And they have really complied with the federal, state, and local environmental laws. And this process, as Garrett mentioned, requires public participation, which we'll, talk about in more extent further along this presentation. So really the key findings were in the areas of noise, air quality, wetlands, wildlife, and traffic. Again, this will be very high level. So if there are any, questions, we can do our best to answer them. If not, really pass them along for you and get the answers that you're looking for. So I'll start with noise. So overall, extending the runway and relocating the terminal reduces the overall noise of the airport, because this will, really expand their space and allow them to fully equip their, airplanes with passengers. Right now, they've had to, not fill up the airplanes completely. So this will reduce the total number of necessary flights, and extending this terminal and the new extending the runway and the new terminal will shift the aircraft ground noise further from the residences. The airport has also indicated that they will also extend their ongoing residential sound installation program to include additional homes that would otherwise be significantly impacted by the aircraft noise. And on air quality, I've also found that by relocating the terminal and extending the runway, the airport and its airline partners will reduce overall impact on air quality when compared to, not expanding their airport. So that has been a really good finding. And also potential air emissions from the construction, forecasted operations, and changes in vehicle trips associated with the expansion are expected to be well below the threshold set by the EPA. Those were the findings on the air quality. And then moving on to wetlands, the new terminal is proposed within the footprint of a closed runway and taxiway field. So they have really, they've showcased to us that they've looked at the different options that they have for this new terminal. And in doing so, they've really tried to minimize what the wetland impact is. So the impact on undisturbed wetlands has been intentionally minimized to less than 0.2 acres. And the expansion would include mitigation measures implemented to achieve the overall policy goal of no net loss. So they have really worked hard to minimize this impact. On wildlife, they've also really minimized their impact to wildlife and plant life to less than the federal and local thresholds that are necessary. And the project site does not contain any critical habitats for threatened or endangered species as designated by the state or federal government. And then finally, on traffic, the expansion would not significantly impact current driver experience as studied across 11 key intersections that they have studied. They have found that, this wouldn't create a negative impact on traffic. And a new traffic signal and intersection improvements would also be provided at the intersection of Proto Drive and Co Avenue. So overall, this was a really, really well done EA, and they've kind of showed some of the concerns that some of the neighbors have had. They've showed that, this expansion, they have really worked hard to minimize the impacts on the environment and on the local residents of the community. So it was a really good report. So again, as we mentioned, now after the March 2nd release of the EA, they've kind of prompted this public comment period that we're currently in to Mark McFarland Johnson. So the previous deadline was April 16th to submit comments, but the new deadline is May 1st of this year. So it's really great news, and we really are looking for the business community to show out and show their support. And so I'll talk a little bit more about how you can get involved there. So for written testimony, the chamber has support available to help you write your testimony. So if you have any questions on that, you can feel free to email me. That's my email up there is kambrosio@gnhcc.com. And, I'll be happy to provide support. We do have templates that you are able to use, but they've really indicated that they would like personalized letters to share, your own experience that you've had with the airport, or if you have a specific interest in, supporting the growth of the regional economy and the business community, from that perspective, that is really helpful to them, because the EA does cover more environmental issues, but they are also looking at the economic, benefits of the airport. So if there's any way that you would, like to support, write a letter or go in person on April 1st, that option is available. And then you can email the letters to me and I will send them along to the proper person to make sure they're included in the public comment period. As I mentioned before, the deadline for the written letters of support is May 1st of this year. And then also with the option to testify in person, again, there's going to be a meeting held this Saturday, April 1st. So it's this Saturday coming up, and it will be take place at the East Haven High School. 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. is kind of an open house meeting where they'll have different sessions, from what I know, on, noise, traffic, and the different areas that we kind of covered today. So if you're, looking for further information on that, you're, more than welcome to attend that and ask questions and learn more about the whole process and the findings. And then from 1:30 to 3:30, there will be a formal hearing and public comment session. So this is their intake. The public comments will go to the FAA for them to consider whether to approve the environmental assessment and let them go along with their proposed expansion. And if it goes the other way, as Garrett said, they will move to an environmental impact study, which will really prolong this process. And, from their findings, it has really showed that they've really minimized their impact and met the thresholds that they need to meet. So if you are interested in testifying in person or writing letters of support for the public comments, please feel free to reach out to me. I will put my email in the chat, and and Tamika's put my email in the chat. So thanks, Tamika. And if there are any questions, feel free to put them in the chat and I can do my best to answer. Okay, so it doesn't look like there are any questions. So again, thank you for your time today. And let me stop this share. Thank you for your time today and for joining us this morning for this just quick coaching webinar. And feel free to reach out if you are interested in showing your support. And we're more than happy to help you along. All right, thank you.